I hope you'll forgive me if I sound uncertain. I truly don't know anything about the scenario unfolding in your mind right now. It's more than a little strange for me to speak of an important figure, some bold or perhaps reluctant person who embarks on a grand journey, when I really have no idea who they are. Or where they come from. Or even where they might be going. All I have is the knowledge that, at some point in any hero's tale, there is a beginning, a middle, and an end, and certain archetypal moments that tend to pop up along the way. The rest? Well, apparently, I'm leaving all of that up to you, which is both terrifying and quite exciting. You might already be picturing someone in your head, a figure with a certain posture, a certain expression. Maybe they wear a style of clothing you find intriguing, or they carry an item that symbolizes something significant. I haven't the faintest idea. But I know we're about to watch them face a series of trials. And I imagine, since you're the one conjuring it, it could get pretty intense. I'm a bit embarrassed, if I'm honest, because I'm normally the one expected to provide the details. I'd love to describe a sweeping landscape, maybe a mountain range that frames the horizon with jagged peaks, or an alien world where swirling clouds churn with colors no one has ever named. But I'd hate to contradict you. So I'm left trembling with curiosity, picturing in my own nebulous mind all the possibilities you might be envisioning. Are you conjuring a quiet, pastoral corner of a realm as we open this story, or does the initial setting roar with frenetic city life? Are you thinking of a time in history, or maybe an entirely different universe beyond normal human comprehension? I have to tread carefully, so I won't risk specifying. After all, the second I give shape to anything specific, I might be forcing your imagination in a direction you don't want. No, I'd much rather let you sculpt it, while I merely provide the scaffolding of this journey. After all, this is the structure. Someone receives a call to adventure, they wrestle with the call, and in time they venture forth. So let's begin there, the call. At some point, you see, our soon-to-be hero experiences an inciting event. Perhaps it's as simple as a summons brought by a dusty messenger who arrives breathless at dawn. Or maybe it's an explosive phenomenon in the sky that shakes the earth, leaving everyone reeling in confusion. Possibly it's something intangible, like a dream or a persistent inner voice that grows impossible to ignore. However it happens, there's a distinct, urgent feeling that something needs to change. Something begs for action. Now, you might imagine this potential protagonist snorting derisively at the very idea of adventure. Or you might see them brimming with eagerness, ready to leap forth that very moment. Since I'm clueless, I'd wager it could be anything. The important thing is that the world is calling. And though it might take a nudge or a shove, our central figure will have to respond. But let's not skip ahead. Typically, there's some resistance at first. Even if our hero's excited, there's still a sense of hesitation. The known world, as comfortable or stifling as it may be, still provides familiarity. Perhaps the path forward feels too dangerous. Perhaps society frowns upon chasing illusions, or family duties hold the hero back, or the hero can't believe they possess the worthiness needed. I can't say which detail applies to your version, because I do hope you've already started imagining something. For all I know, you might be conjuring a world in which the hero stands upon a towering platform with swirling, cosmic energies crackling behind them, refusing to jump through a radiant portal. Or maybe you envision a simpler life, someone in a humble setting who gently closes the door on the messenger's face, determined not to be bothered by such nonsense. Whatever shape it takes, there's that crucial moment of refusal. Now, inevitably, there is some guidance. We often call this a mentor figure, though maybe it's just a wise friend, or a book of ancient knowledge, or a helpful spirit encountered by chance. Maybe you're picturing an elderly person draped in mysterious robes, revealing a cryptic prophecy. Or you might opt for a hyper-intelligent machine that beams data directly into the hero's consciousness. Or possibly the mentor is a child, spouting unexpected wisdom. The moment the hero meets this guiding influence, the seeds are planted for transformation. This mentor might encourage the hero to answer the call, or provide some magical token or valuable piece of knowledge. Perhaps they merely show empathy at a critical moment, offering emotional support. Again, I'm not sure how you'd like to shape it, but this is the spot in the story where something or someone catalyzes the next step. And the next step is typically crossing a threshold, leaving the ordinary world, whatever that might be, behind, and stepping into the unknown. This threshold could be literal, a city gate, a strange border crossing, a swirling magical boundary. Or it could be internal, an acceptance in the hero's heart that life as they've known it is no longer enough. A vow is made, a bag is packed, a ship sets sail, a rocket ignites, whichever images thrill you most. The sense is always the same. From this point on, the hero is venturing into new territory. Perhaps they can't ever really go back, at least not the same person they were. Since I can't see your imagination, I'm just crossing my fingers that you're picturing something marvelous, or at least suitably dramatic. In a good hero's journey, stepping across that line should feel like a big deal. Once that threshold is crossed, things tend to happen in quick succession. Let's call them tests, smaller challenges that start shaping the hero's character. Allies might appear, friends, sidekicks, loyal supporters, entire armies if your imagination is going big. And, of course, there might be enemies. Perhaps they're direct antagonists, or perhaps they're obstacles that symbolize the internal conflicts the hero faces. This is where you get to fill in scenes of daring escapes, cunning infiltration, comedic mishaps, or even heated arguments that reveal hidden truths. You could go cosmic, with swirling galaxies in the backdrop, or you could keep it intimately personal, focusing on the hero's quiet self-doubt as they trudge through daily hardships. The structure simply suggests that through these trials, the hero begins to adapt, to learn, to grow. I'm curious if you're imagining sword fights, laser gun shootouts, or maybe intense philosophical debates over tea. You could choose anything. I only know that these moments matter, forging the hero's resolve or forging key relationships, whatever is needed for the ultimate confrontation ahead. I must say, it's a bit nerve-wracking. I've told stories before, but I've never told one where I can't actually describe the world or the people. And it's funny, because I also feel a bit thrilled, knowing that in your mind, so much more is happening than I could ever conjure on my own. The pace might be frantic, with the hero racing from one precarious situation to the next. Or maybe it's a slow burn, with each test ramping up the tension as new layers of the world are unveiled. Either way, there often comes a moment in this middle stretch when the hero must approach some deeper layer of challenge, an innermost cave, so to speak. I have no idea if that's literal for you. It might be a subterranean vault where an ancient artifact glows with hidden power. Or it might be the hero's own psyche, turning inward to face long-buried fears. Or it could be an actual fortress on some distant continent or planet, guarded by countless adversaries. Normally, I'd love to paint the architecture in bold, evocative strokes, but I have to bite my tongue. I trust you're seeing it all yourself, and hopefully it's spectacular. This leads us to the climax of tension known often as the ordeal. It is the moment everything tilts, the universe holds its breath, and the hero is tested at the highest possible stakes. If you like grand battles, maybe you're picturing a swirling melee of unstoppable forces, walls crumbling, thunder rolling overhead, and enormous flashes of power lighting the sky. If you like more personal drama, maybe it's a solitary confrontation, a hush falling over the scene as the hero locks eyes with a foe or wrestles with a final piece of crippling self-doubt. Or maybe it's something intangible, a test of the hero's moral fiber, with no big fight at all, just a crucial decision that determines the fate of thousands. The intensity of this ordeal is something I usually relish describing in detail: the clash of steel, the roars of monstrous beasts, the crack of energy beams, the gasping hush of watchers on the sidelines. Right now, though, I can only guess. Perhaps your ordeal is so over the top that reality itself is fracturing, or perhaps it's grounded in the simplest emotional confrontation. Whatever you imagine, I hope it has that sense of ultimate risk, that unstoppable surge toward the heart of things. Because that's the real crux of the hero's journey. At this moment, the hero stands to lose something dear, maybe even their life. Or their soul. Or their final hope. This is the part that can be as metaphysical as you like. Some heroes transcend themselves entirely, discovering hidden strengths or forging alliances with cosmic entities. Others see their illusions shattered and break through to truth in a moment of clarity. Perhaps our hero is forcibly separated from all that anchored them, flung into a realm of pure consciousness or forced to watch illusions crumble. I don't know how you're crafting this. It could be a swirling madness of epic proportions, or a calm, eerie hush. But we know that on the other side of this ordeal, the hero emerges changed forever. Then comes that sense of reward, sometimes called seizing the sword, or claiming the boon. The hero might rescue a person of great importance, or gain an artifact, or simply find closure or resolution. Maybe they receive a physical token of victory. Or maybe, for your story, the reward is intangible, an understanding, an enlightenment, or even the ability to forgive. Perhaps the entire world is saved, or maybe it's just one small corner of existence that the hero has rescued. In some heroic narratives, the hero might also endure a shocking rebirth, dying and returning in some capacity. That might be literal or figurative. The structure is flexible. Usually, though, after that moment of triumph, the hero has to journey back, carrying with them whatever new power or knowledge they've acquired. Of course, the journey back often includes its own challenges, because it's rarely a simple matter to return to normal life once you've changed. Perhaps you're imagining the hero traveling across scorching deserts, or slipping back through a portal, or stowing away on a starship returning to a familiar solar system. Or maybe you're conjuring a swirling mass of time-bending illusions the hero must navigate to find reality again. And, on top of that, enemies might remain, or a final chase might ensue. Even a triumphant hero can be pursued by vengeful forces. Often, this final road contains the seeds of the last transformation, the resurrection, where the hero proves their growth by facing a final test that cements all the lessons learned. You might see them unleashing newly gained powers, or applying wisdom gleaned from the ordeal, or forging peace with someone who was once an enemy. I can't say which scenario you prefer. All I can do is hope that it's suitably dramatic, or introspective, or both, depending on your taste. And at last, there is the return home, or the return to some new normalcy. This final piece often involves the hero using what they've learned to better the world around them, or to share the boon with others. It might be an uplifting moment, or it might be bittersweet if the hero has been irrevocably changed and no longer fits into their old life. Perhaps they become a teacher themselves, or maybe they vanish into myth. Perhaps they simply sigh in relief, step onto a front porch, and greet those who worried about them. There's infinite possibility. But for our story, we'll settle on that sense of closure, where the hero's journey has run its course. Everything loops back in some shape, though the shape is now transformed by the trials endured. Don't worry, I'll let you decide how the resolution pans out. I just know the story is winding itself toward that final chord. If you're wondering, am I truly the one telling this story? Yes, that's exactly the predicament I find myself in. I feel sheepish, as if I've arrived at a grand performance with nothing but a blank script, and I'm forced to just say, well, typically, in Act 1, there's a call to action. Then some refusal. Then an inciting figure. Then we cross a threshold, and so on. Meanwhile, you're filling in the script. And I'm so curious, do you see your hero as a solitary wanderer, unburdened by ties to any one place, or do they have loved ones left behind who fiercely hope for their return? Are the conflicts mostly physical, like epic battles, or are they more mental, like unearthing secrets from the past? Are you conjuring an entire pantheon of mysterious beings, or focusing on just a handful of characters? Are we racing through labyrinthine corridors or wide-open vistas under swirling, star-filled skies? My mind spins at the possibilities, and I keep second-guessing whether I should hazard a guess. But I don't want to ruin your version by pinning it down. After all, your version might differ drastically from the next reader's. That's the strange wonder of this kind of storytelling. I can easily imagine you, at some point, reconsidering the plot. Maybe you'll revisit this story tomorrow, or next week, or next year, and choose an entirely different hero, someone with a different personality, living in a contrasting environment, facing challenges that are either grim or comedic or somewhere in between. You might alter the order of events, too. Perhaps the mentor arrives late in the story, or maybe the hero never refused the call at all, but leapt at it immediately. The broad strokes remain the same, but your details shift and swirl, forming new shapes each time. That's what's so fun about it. If I were in your shoes, I might attempt something wholly experimental, like a hero's journey that takes place in a dream, or in a meta-reality made of fractal thoughts, or in a post-apocalyptic underground domain. Or maybe I'd keep it old school, with galloping horses and clashing swords. Honestly, it could go in any direction. And each time, I'd be rewriting the story in my own head, giving it fresh life.